Thank you very much for joining these sessions. My name is Shige Higashi. I'm editor of the Culture News, and I like to host a public speech by Kikuko Otake to the people in the world in the occasion of uh, Nobel Peace Award ceremonies in Oslo. And I like to introduce Kikuko Otake-san to you. She was 5 years old when the atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima. And then she was educated in Japan. And after college, she came to US, and then she lived in Los Angeles area for a long time. And about 20 years ago, she published the book of her and her family's experience of Hiroshima bombings. The book's name is Masako's Stories. So, using this book and also telling her own experience, she dedicate to tell the experience to the people, many people in Los Angeles, not only Los Angeles, but many places. And in occasion of the Nobel Peace Award, uh, when the Norwegian Nobel Committee made announcement about this year's ceremony, award, they said they will honor all hibakusha, all survivors of the atomic bombing. Uh, it means they like to award this prize to all atomic bomb survivors. To to respond this message by Nobel Peace Committees, Kikuko Otake like to uh, deliver her thought and her comment uh, to the people uh, in many places. So, so please, so this is your Otake-san's times.
Okay.
Right.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Kikuko Otake. At the time of the bombing of August 6th, I'm a Hiroshima hibakusha. At the time of the bombing of August 6th, 1945, I lived with my mother and two brothers. Will you show me the picture, please?
ちょっと待ってください。
My brother was a second grader, and the younger brother was 3 years old. Okay, this is a picture of my family. My big brother was the second grader. Younger brother in my mother's lap is 3 years old. I was 5 years old. This picture was taken only a few weeks before the bombing. My father took this picture. For no reasons, I didn't want my pictures taken at that time, and I cried and cried, I don't look happy. This was the last time I saw my father, although I don't remember him very well. But this was the last time I saw my father, and maybe something bad was going to happen in a few weeks. Maybe I don't know why I cried. But this is the picture when the atomic bomb was dropped over us. I lived in, next map please. I lived in Uchikoshi, that is near Yokogawa Station. Then that was just over 1 mile away from the hypocenter, just 1.7 kilometers from the hypocenter. This triangle is my picture, is my house. And then this, it is very close to the Yokogawa train station. Was 1.7 kilometers away from the hypocenter. This red area has burned down, and my house also burned down. On that fateful morning, I was playing with my cousin who lived next door in front of my house. And we were playing house on the street. To fetch a spoon or something, I ran back to my house, and my 3-year-old brother followed me. I entered the kitchen of my house. It was at that time when the atomic bomb exploded. With a blast, a strong blast wind of the explosion, our house collapsed and we were buried under the collapsed house. All of us were unconscious, kind of passed out, and then unconscious for a long time, and we don't know how long. But my mother regained consciousness. She pushed the debris and went out of the rubble. And she saw my little brother and I were buried up to the chest by the debris, but luckily our heads were sticking out of the house. So she crawled over the broken roof tiles and the crumbled stucco, and she pulled both of us free. My older brother was a second grader, but he was in the living room. Somehow he also could manage himself and he got out of the rubble. All of us were injured. I injured my head, and the blood spurted out like a fountain, and the blood smudged my face, and then blood flew over my shredded and dirtied summer dress. My younger brother also injured his head. My older brother was reading a comic book lying down on the floor of the living room. So everything crashed over his face. So he injured his head and the forehead and some big gash around his nose, and his eye was covered in blood. My mother injured her arm about 10 inches long, and she said it looked like the burst out pomegranate. It's red, and some muscle was shown, and then she could see her bone here. Also, the kitchen window was shattered by the strong blast of that atomic bomb, and the fragments of glasses kind of flew like arrows and stuck into her face. So she had glass pieces on her forehead and the cheek and the lip and so forth. She pulled those pieces out by herself. All of us were blooded and injured and bloody. However, fire burst out everywhere. It started to burn entire city of Hiroshima, started to burn because the heat force of the atomic bomb was so high that even the temperature on the surface at the hypocenter reached 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. With that high temperature, everything flammable spontaneously caught on fire. The Japanese homes are made of wood, and they were all crashed and crumbled, but they spontaneously caught on fire, so it started to burn everywhere. So we were injured, but we had to flee. But we didn't know where to go because fire everywhere. But we fled to the riverside of the nearby Yamate River. Now it is called the Otagawa Hosuiro or something like that, Yamate River, because the river was the only place that was not burning. Over there, we were horrified to see the people. The riverside was packed with the people who were grotesquely burned and gruesomely injured. Some people over there, we saw our uncle who lived across the street from ours. And then he was there, and then he looked like red paint was poured over his head. He suffered from a raw flesh burn. He was red all over his body. Suddenly, he became bald because his hair was burnt off. I told you, everything flammable included people's hair, eyelashes and eyebrows and people's clothes. So suddenly he became bald and no eyebrows, eyelashes, and then he was all red. His eyes were barely open. His skin was slipped off and then shredded and hung like paper streamers. And like all burnt people, he held out his hands like this. I heard, why did they walk like this, held up their arms like this? I heard if they lower their hands, the blood pooled at the fingertip and they throbbed. So they tried to put their arms higher than the heart. So like this. And because they are suffering from raw flesh burn, if some body parts touch each other, it hurts. So they tried, no body parts will touch each other, arms are higher than the heart. So all of them walked like this. And my uncle was like this, and then he collapsed and died. My mother saw some baby on his mother's back, but that baby was headless. Because of the blast wind, baby's head was blown off. She saw somebody had some white cloth wrapped around the stomach, but actually it was not. He was holding the burst out intestine by himself. That was not the cloth, but his intestine. But everybody looked so horrible. She couldn't tell the men from the women. And she really wondered, are they really human beings? She saw someone whose face was so much, so injured, and she couldn't tell if that was the back of his head or his face or something. It was a horrible sight. And Hibakusha says no pictures, no photos. Nobody could ever be able to describe that horror and the terrible side of the hibakusha and the dead people. Soon after that, okay, black rain started to fall. So we were injured, but we fled to there was a broken bridge. So we fled, we took shelter under that bridge. I remember seeing a grayish-white person, naked person standing in front of me. For a long time, I thought he looked like Egyptian mummy with a bandage wrapped around from head to toe. But that is not true, because at that time, all hospitals were crashed and the doctors and nurses were injured or dead. Nobody could treat him and then spare bandage all over his body. That was not true. He suffered with grayish white burn. My uncle was a red flesh burn. This soldier was naked and then suffered from grayish white burn. He also collapsed and died in front of me. I remember that. That night, we slept on the sandbank. The riverside was wet with black rain, and it soaked with black rain, but we didn't have anything to put over that sand. We lay directly on that wet sand, and then we didn't have anything to cover us, like a sheet or blanket. Actually, nobody in the sandbank, okay, nobody could have energy or time or to carry anything. Nobody had anything with them. So we just slept in the open air and then nothing to cover us. And we think all night long we received a fallout of radiation, I guess. My father was drafted into the Japanese army, and he was stationed in Hiroshima base. That his military Hiroshima base was only yards away from the hypocenter. And the next day, my mother walked through the hypocenter, and then he went to the military base that was between the atomic bomb dome and the Hiroshima castle, between there. And then looking for my father, but she couldn't find him. And later we heard all soldiers were out in the field doing morning exercises. And of course, so close to the hypocenter, so he must have died instantly, but we couldn't believe it for a long time. We kept on thinking he must be living, he must have fled somewhere, he must be living somewhere. And then we kept on searching for him, and we couldn't find his body. We never had a funeral, so we never had closures. And technically, he's still missing, although it's obvious that he must have died there instantly. After that, we spent in the sand river bank for about 2 weeks, because all our relatives lived in the city of Hiroshima, so we had nowhere to go. And then in the meantime, for 2 weeks or so, I received all the fallout of radiation. And because of that, all of us suffered from radiation sickness. At that time, it was called atomic bomb syndrome, because on top of our injury, we suffered from radiation infection. The symptom was severe diarrhea, extreme fatigue, and my mother lost. She didn't become bald, but her hair got very thin. Probably my hair was also thin, but I don't remember. And she also had some temperature. And but and she had a big injury on her arm, and then later on she was told by the doctor she should be amputated from elbow down. But if she had waited too long, it must have been amputated from the shoulder. But she refused to have it amputated because she had 3 little children. And then she just washed the scar with water, and she applied some mercurochrome disinfectant. Everybody, it's called the akachin because it was red color. And everybody during the war had mercurochrome disinfectant in the emergency bag, and she had only one bottle of it. And so she washed and then sparingly she applied one brush of mercurochrome every day. In that way, she kind of fixed it. Somehow it healed, and we suffered from a head injury. But somehow, towards the end of that year, 1945, December 31st, 1945, all 3 children, mother and 3 children, somehow got a little better. But by the way, okay, I was playing with my cousin who lived next door. I ran back to the house, and then there was a bomb exploded. My cousin was waiting for me on the street, and then he died because of burn. So if I had not run back to the house, I would have been dead just like him. And his baby sister was trapped under the crushed house, and because of the fire, she was burned. We were so lucky because we just happened to be inside the house. So all of us got injured, but didn't suffer from burn. My uncle lived just across the street, but he was outside. He died of the burn. My cousin, who was waiting for me outside, he also died of the burn. But all of us, children, 3 children, mother and 3 children, survived. We were so lucky. My mother had 2 brothers. The oldest brother lived in Nishihikimidocho, so that is near Tokaichi, I guess. But I remember on the second day after the bombing, my mother brought us with her, looking for my father, and then we walked through. We visited my grandma's house that was in Nishihikimidocho, and I remember seeing a perfect skeleton with a skull and a rib cage and the arms and the legs, all bones, and the perfect skeleton. I remember seeing him, and that is the remain of my uncle. And we used to, before, that was my mother's oldest brother, so he died. He was a skeleton. The younger brother, it was probably at Hiroshima, but he died by the atomic bomb, and we don't know where he died. My mother has 2 sisters, and the oldest sister's husband lived in Hachogori, and then he was helping the grandma's business. So he was on the way from Hachobori to Nishikimi Dojo. So he must have died right in the middle of the hypocenter, but we don't know where he died, how he died. And my mother's second oldest sister, her husband died in the battle in the Philippines. My father also had two brothers. Oldest brother was the one who died like this. And the second oldest brother was out of town, but immediately he came back. He is the father of my cousin who was with whom I was playing. And then the baby sister also died. He died in 3 years. He died of cancer. His wife also died of cancer 1 year after. I grew up with my mother's side relatives. All my cousins were fatherless. All our fathers died. And when I was growing up, I had no adult male relatives, no adult males among our relatives. These days, okay, this was what had happened to us. And after that, okay, my family, my oldest brother died of blood disease 3 years ago. My younger brother and I both suffered from cancer. And then when I was younger, all of us had a very sickly childhood. But after reaching adulthood, all of us were somehow were okay, although we had cancer. And my oldest brother died. This is what had happened to us, to my family. And these days, the nuclear weapons, atomic nuclear weapons, are thousands of times more powerful than Hiroshima atomic bombs. Can you imagine thousands of times more powerful? Hiroshima atomic bomb was temperature was 7,000 degrees. The iron ore melts in the furnace. That temperature was something like 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. And so the people were burned more than twice as higher temperature. It was like throwing the people into the red hot iron ore is melting furnace. It was like throwing the people into the furnace. That is not the way that people should die. Or atomic weapons are so immoral to kill that person, to kill humans that way. But these days, nuclear weapons, thousands of times more powerful. What would happen to us? Maybe all of us would vaporize. But, and then if there are more than 12,000 nuclear heads in this world. Most of them, more than 90% of them were owned by Russia and the United States. But if they are used, those weapons can kill the entire population of the Earth 5 or 6 times over, and our planet Earth will permanently contaminated. But because we have more than 12,000 nuclear heads, if we have them, absolutely somebody will use it accidentally or intentionally. So, and then, okay, once the nuclear weapon is used, it will happen. I'm sorry, my description was so graphic, But that was what had happened to human beings when the atomic bomb was used. And then when the nuclear weapon is used, it happened to you, to us. We have to think, please think that way. And then we have more than 12,000 nuclear heads. So that our world is so dangerous. It may be used. And then Russia is threatening to use it. And then it's a very dangerous world. So what is the thing we should do? Okay, we have to abolish nuclear weapons before they abolish us. There is no other way of surviving but peace. Okay. Let there be peace. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Otake-san. This is very painful story of hearing, and also for you, this is very painful story of the Turing. And even though we have to carry on this story experience to the next generations. So then we like to hear some comment if you have. So how about Ken Koshio-san? Would you like to say something to us?
Good afternoon, and Kikuko-san, 本当にありがとうございます。So,
Please speak in English
oh, well, I
because
know, I know. Just I
okay.
say in Japanese. I thought everybody could understand. ありがとうございます。Anyhow, so my point is, again, so I was born in '66. So absolutely, even if I was in Japan at that time, also I'm from Nagoya, Japan. So basically, it's, kind of when I was a kid at the second grade, I read the Barefoot Gens comic book. And so that is my first experience and the impact to know Hiroshima bombing. And for the 7 years old boy to even from that book, the information was so tough and unrealistically painful. And my personal experience about, your Kiko-san's real those experience, of course, we cannot imagine about that, how, horrible. But even after read the book, um, after my, school time, went back to my school, and in between the class, when I look at the sky, some commercial jet came, and I thought, if the jet drop a bomb, like the magazine, I mean the comic book of the Barefoot Gen. So just right after the flash, everything's changed to before and after. And absolutely like you share with us about the story. So like you said, like when you maybe got into the oven or something that really stick this, temperature and condition. So one that moment totally changes, of course, your family and the whole world in Hiroshima, but at the same time, even with the cancer or, you know, some kind of a sad stories for, um, your maybe clear eyes or something from the outside of the looks, and then also, people when they get married, someone found out you are from Hiroshima, you couldn't get married, something. So such kind of stories are being heard, and how lucky I am here without those kind of experiences. But at the same time, I met several survivors like you, and always when I've heard, um, I wish and I hope we could be the last survivors. So that kind of painful, but most thoughtful, or peaceful kind of message or mind gives me a lot of my kind of a motivation and to learn the experience to pass the next generations or encourage myself to learn. And a friend of mine who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's been climbing the Mad Mountain, has been doing until 89 years old. And until 77, he is 3 times a day. So his name is Sammy, but he's actually survivor of the um, Jewish Holocaust. So until he was 10, he was under that captured condition. So he said he never had that childhood. So after that, he escaped and then he moved to the United States with his mother, but the rest of his family died in camp. So he's also another great my mentor to learn about this world pain and how important to learn the peace. Thank you very much, Kiko-san, and all of this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you what, okay, Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Hibakusha, especially those who are giving testimony. I'm doing that, so I won Nobel Peace Prize.
Right, right. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken Koshio from Phoenix, Arizona. And we have another survivors in Los Angeles. So Sarashina-san, would you give us some your thought? Please mute your microphone.
My
Yes.
name is Junji Sarashina. Otake-san spoke about his family getting hurt, getting burned, blood coming out of here and there. Her father was in the military and so close to the hypocenter. And I know exactly where that place is because I was in Hiroshima myself, approximately 1.5 miles from the hypocenter. What Otake-san was prescribing her father's missing, I can understand that because many of the Japanese soldiers close to put close to the hypocenter, they all died. The sad memories, she talked about it. I have seen it, and it's a sad case. No human being should suffer. No human being should be burned like the way she prescribed and described. Yes, the modern nuclear weapons are much, much powerful than the one they dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now the Hidankyo is here and trying to tell the world that we need peace. We shouldn't use the nuclear weapon because it's going to demolish the human being. To abolish all the nuclear weapon in the world is a very, very difficult task. When you live in the United States, it is much more difficult to talk about abolishing all those nuclear weapons because most of the American family or family carry their own gun, carry their own pistol for self-protection. And this is their right. And you tell them to abolish the nuclear weapon from the United States, it is a very, very hard task. But that's the only thing we can do now. Just wish and hope, like the survivors. You and I are survivors here. And also, Kumamoto-san is a survivor too. We must somehow endeavor in trying to tell the government that no more nuclear weapon, no more nuclear war. And Otake-san, thank you for describing all the sad memories, sad picture of the day the bomb was dropped. But we are still surviving here, and we are fortunate that we are able to talk about it. As we start getting older, let's hope that we'll be able to continue carry on this thought to the younger generation, and hope that the younger people will be able to abolish all the nuclear weapon from the world. Thank you, Otake-san.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
yeah. Okay. We have another survivors from Saitama, Japan. So Kumamoto-san, would you like to say something? Please unmute your microphone.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Kikuko Otake-san. Good, nice lectures for us, and I'm appreciated for Shigeo Higashi-san. I am the first time to join this Zoom meeting. Sorry. So, but I am thinking that gradually at that day of the August 8, 6 in 1945. But at that time I was 2 years, 5 months. So I'm not so exactly know that and remember that, but only my mother's saying to me, but she couldn't, didn't say about that time, long time, because I think she would not remember that time. At that time, my father has gone to the China to the war, so and the soldiers. But and my father came back after the 2 years after of the A-bomb time. So and she was living with me those time, maybe a hard time, but luckily my mother and I was didn't get such a injured, because my house is the back of the another apartment, 2 floor, 2階建て, 2階建て,
Second floor.
second floor, second floor, the apartment is back of my house. And another house is another neighbor house is there. So the Picadon, do you know the Picadon? The name we call the A-bomb Picadon. Pica means flashing the light, pica, and then after the dawn is bombing. So when I was in Hiroshima, the A-bomb, Japanese says picadon. Do you know picadon? Maybe Otake-san know that. Picadon. So, and so maybe so my house is not still building the here. Not the fire is there because my house is the about 2 miles from the center of that. So luckily, my mother and I was survived that. No injury. So I'm very thankful to my mother. Mother keep me in house all day. But I saw when I was a boy, and we saw that many people, especially for lady, in summertime, they had a short wear. So they had here all the keloid. Doing the keloid, you know. So the skin is broken, and many young lady was here, half of the face, or なんて言いますか、大竹さん、ただれてるのね。なんていうの how to say that in English はやけど。ファイヤーいいんじゃない
burn keloid.
Yeah, keloid is not. Keloid, yes.
On the face.
That's right. So every time I saw that, every day we saw that such a young lady have the keloid.
Yeah.
Half of the face, you know. So the atomic bomb, the flash is coming here, then here is keloid. And also the hair is burn out, half of the hair.
Yeah.
But nowadays, when I came back to go back to Hiroshima, I couldn't saw that lady. Every lady is very beautiful, you know, and so now it's a very, very peace, you know. Everybody almost know that, but now I remember that time. And also, I was elementary school, maybe so 3 grade or 4th grade. Every month, one jeep. Do you know the jeep? The car, jeep car, come to my elementary school's garden and pick up the 2 people, classmate, pick up at random maybe, bring to the ABCC Center. Do you know the ABCC Center? Atomic Bomb Searching Center, you know. There is
Bomb Casualty Commission.
That's right, you know. The top of the Hijiyama Mountain.
That's
there.
right.
Then take the 2 boys' blood, and they're searching the A-bomb, the accident, how to affect to the human body. I don't know. So I saw that inside of the school building. so that two boys pick up to and ride on the jeep. They will go back to ABC Center. Yeah, such a case is many times seeing in Hiroshima, So, but my remembers sometimes erasing that. But this time, I recovered my bones. So, such a Otake-san's speech and Otake-san's describing the book is a very, very important and good. And I want to say to my other people in Japan, thank you very much.
Yeah, I like to explain, add some little explanations about the Kumamoto-san's speaks. Right after the bombings, U.S. government did not give direct support or direct treatment to the survivors. However, they set up the research institute inside Hiroshima, which is called Hijiyama Mountains,
Out there.
very close to the epicenters. And regularly, Kumamoto-san's testimony says every month the jeep came from this institute and picked up two students or two children and taken back to the institute, and they made a blood test. So the people in Hiroshima felt they were treated guinea pig. They are not treated by the U.S. government. But reality is the Japanese government established a hospital, especially for the atomic bomb survivors. And so I guess this Japanese government was supported. This activity or policy was supported by the U.S. government. So I didn't say that U.S. government did not help survivors at all, but in sufficient or in the realities, the Hiroshima people did not feel they are helped by the U.S. government. That maybe this is my comment too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So other people, would you like to add some English comment? After this English sessions, we like to switch to the Japanese sessions because we have two Japanese main news papers from a news reporter from a main newspaper from Hiroshima and Japan's. So are there any comments, or how about Sawat-san? Would you like to say something?
Yes, I do. Again, thank you so much for this the speech by Otake-san. I think it's a vivid description of what has happened to a family and to her and her family, and of course, all the other people who spoke today affected, even though it was not immediate, but then its after effect of this bombing was there, and then so just a learning their experiences, we realize the awful effect of this the atomic bombs. And then, of course, you are going to appeal to stop the use of nuclear weapon. Well, yes, we have to certainly do that, but that's one of those few things we human cause and produced to ourselves. And then what we need to aim for, I believe, is a world peace. And it's a peace, the world peace, which doesn't have to have any fight or war, and then use of the weapon. And that's what we should have to ultimately aim for, and that we need to have union of the people of the world, not only just the survivors, but also the people, not only Japanese people, but also the American, as well as everyone in the world. We should put our effort not to have the world with a war, and then world peace should be our ultimate goal. And but listening to this vivid, awful experience kind of opened up the wounds of the past. And then again, thank you for sharing that painful memory. And then I'm so glad she survived and her family survived, and other people who are here to share their experiences with us. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Pusabate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I like to finish the English sessions, but don't go away.